Here we go, better late than never. It's the Wednesday evening edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. Let's get right to it. This evening was a nice sunset. Got a few nice pictures that I'll show on the air tonight at 11 o'clock. We had, just some decorative clouds around sunset time, and that always makes for a nice sunset. The radar, quiet locally. I think clouds will tend to thicken up a little bit as we head through the overnight. Not a lot on the radar. Let me take off the satellite here. Boy, this front is really moisture starved. And it's looking more and more like a lot of places will probably even stay dry during the day tomorrow. So let me quickly show you the high-res NAM model here, and we'll kick things off tomorrow morning as you get up and around. And this front's going to be sagging in, but boy, you wouldn't know it if you looked at the simulated radar. You can pick out the fronts by picking out the kink in the isobars right here. It's pretty easy to find. It's Meteorology 101 for you. When you see kind of the isobars kinked like that, there's usually a boundary in there. So anyway, this just has so little moisture to work with that it's probably just a passing shower in a couple of spots. Here's midday, not much there. By late afternoon, again, not a lot there. And I think we'll even start to see some sun working in from the north as we go into the second half of the afternoon. It'll be pretty cloudy until then, but increasing amounts of sun should be another nice sunset coming up for our Wednesday evening. Now, we'll turn cooler behind the front, so as you wake up Thursday morning, here's the NAM temperatures. To kick off the day, we're going to be back in the upper 30s to around 40 in most spots. Could even be a few places. Boy, the NAM actually has lower 30s in parts of Mercer County. I'm not sure if it's going to be that cold, but it will be quite a bit cooler Thursday morning as compared to tomorrow morning when we'll be in the 50s in a lot of places. So, otherwise, yeah, smooth sailing through the end of the week. Let's talk about the weekend system briefly here. We have another pretty weak front tracking our way on Saturday. Here's the GFS around early afternoon showing increasing chances for some showers by this point on Saturday. Here's the NAM model, similar idea. So the timing on this, not first thing in the morning, but showers will push in as we go into the afternoon and especially into the evening. Here's Saturday evening. Some showers around. And then by Sunday morning, the front looks a little faster on the most recent models, so we've dropped the chance for any lingering showers Sunday morning. I think Sunday will be dry now. As high pressure builds in from the north, it'll be a comfortable, cool, typical late October day with afternoon temperatures getting into the 50s. One interesting thing to show you on the modeling for next week, pretty good low pressure system shown by the models to emerge from the plain states and head into the Midwest by midweek. So here's a look at next Wednesday's map. GFS has a pretty strong area of low pressure up here across parts of Wisconsin into Minnesota with heavy snow, perhaps around Fargo. And this will be a windy day for us with showers off and on throughout the day on Wednesday. So a week from today. Obviously, a week out, you take everything with a grain of salt, but the modeling is fairly consistent or in good agreement on this, that there will be a pretty good area of low pressure middle of the week moving through the Midwest. And doesn't mean snow for us, but perhaps a wind-driven, showery kind of a day next Wednesday into Wednesday night. And the pattern looks coolish for the end of next week. I've gotten some questions about Halloween, and just for fun, here's Halloween morning next Saturday. If this were to be exactly right, you'd have a clear, calm day with high pressure building into the northeast. The modeling, particularly the European, has been back and forth a little bit, trying to bring some precipitation in for Halloween, but the latest GFS would say, no way, it's just going to be dry and chilly. So we'll fine-tune Halloween's forecast. We've got 10 days to go on that. Of course, there are some trick-or-treats a day or two before Halloween, but a lot of them are on Halloween Day this year. All right, real quick talk about the long range here. Wanted to show you a couple of things about November. One of the tools we use when we're trying to make a seasonal forecast, whether it be for a month or an entire season, is something called analogs. We look back at previous years that had similar setups in the atmosphere and in the oceans, particularly, as far as the placement of warm pools and cool pools. This map shows what the November temperatures were like when averaged together anyway, when you look back at all the strong, medium to strong El Niños going back to the 1950s. So when you throw all those in the hopper, it ends up being, in our area, somewhat cooler than average November, and a chilly November out across the plain states when you look at the analogs, the strong and medium strength El Niños going back to the 50s. Now the modeling says a little bit something different here. Here's the latest climate models for November, showing that cool area, yes, just like where the analogs have it, but it paints a warmer picture across the east than the analogs have. So notice the analog years, it was coolish slightly in the east, whereas the models show perhaps a little warmer than average. So November is kind of a tricky forecast at this point. We're going to kind of take a middle of the road approach here this early in the game and say November will probably pan out to be fairly typical temperature-wise. Now, when you look at precipitation, the models show nothing really to write home here about, generally close to average precipitation in November. Now, when you look at December, when you go back and look at the strong and medium strength El Ninos, El Nino really starts to have its most impact on the U.S. and Canada, Canadian weather once we get into meteorological winter, starting in December. So when you throw all those years in the hopper, you end up with a pretty warm picture here across the Midwest into the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and down into parts of the South as well, while the Southwest is cool. So that's a little hint as to what I'll be talking about in our official winter forecast, which comes out a week from tomorrow on TV at 11 p.m. I will probably do a Weather Geek version like this, showing a more in-depth forecast either earlier in the evening next Thursday, or I might even do it on Wednesday evening. So stay tuned for that. And I thank you for watching the Wednesday night weather for Weather Geeks. I'll have another edition of this video in about 24 hours on my weather blog and on wfmj.com/weather.